All right, let's go to that issue. As I mentioned, we've been covering it now for many, many months, but it's really got bad in recent days. Residents in the Melbourne suburb of Richmond have banded together to demand the North Richmond injecting room be moved after a dead body was found just metres from a primary school last week. It's not the first thing to go horribly wrong near the centre either. Richmond West Primary School has been placed into lockdown twice in less than a week, including after an incident where a man was caught inside school grounds allegedly wielding a knife. Crimes on the up, needles are strewn across the streets. And it's not just heroin being used in this facility. The horrific and violent drug ice was allowed in the facility by the Andrews government back in 2018. Any wonder families close by have had a gutful. For more on this, I'm joined now from Melbourne by two local mums, both of whom have children at Richmond West, Joanne Murphy and Clare Armitage. Thank you so much for speaking up for your community on this issue. I am constantly getting people contact me so angry about what's happened to your local area. Joanne, you've been part of the school community at Richmond West for 8 years, I'm told. What's it been like in the last few years for you?
Well, firstly, thank you for having us, Peta. We appreciate the opportunity. As you say, I've been part of the community now for 8 years, and when we joined this wonderful school, the community and surrounds was not like this. It certainly has changed since the safe injecting room was open, and it hasn't changed in a good way.
Clare, I mentioned the incident regarding the man and allegedly with the knife on school grounds. How concerned are you for your family's safety?
Oh, very concerned, Peta. The line has been crossed with those two incidents, and then also obviously the man dying near school. That's terrifying to have someone able to get into the school grounds and who's armed. We, as a school body are really concerned, and we need some action.
Joanne, it's really interesting to me, you were foisted with this injecting room by the Premier Daniel Andrews. He said it was the trial. It's a trial that has been enlarged and enlarged over time. It's quite a sizable facility. Tell me how the area's changed since it opened back in 2018.
Well, I think since it's open, we've seen a huge increase in users in the street. The needles that are strewn around our neighbourhood have increased. The particularly antisocial behaviour from the ICE users, as you say, that were allowed into the injecting room on the 11th hour, their behaviour is frightening. They yell, they scream, they take their clothes off, and all of this is seen by our children, and we should be able to take our children to school with safety. And we're wondering, on the back of the events that have occurred in the last couple of weeks, what may happen next, and what do we have to do to try and protect our children?
Clare, I go through that local area to where I shop for groceries, and I've got to ask, are people desensitised to it? Because I see people performing sex acts in the middle of day, presumably for drugs. There's a concentration, a honeypot of dealers in the area. It's not just people going in and out of an injecting room. Once they've used their drugs too, they're lying there on the nature strip and in the parks. Are you desensitised to all of this? And what's it done to property values in the area? I imagine it'd be pretty hard to sell a home.
Yeah, definitely. I feel I am completely desensitised to the issue. We had one school mum who said to me, "Oh, I can't believe it's made the news." It's just, it's done that to the community here. We see these people, they're sick people, but at the same time, we don't really know, what's normal. And you raise the topic of house prices. Exactly. It's. I mean, who knows what's going to happen there, but it certainly is affecting house prices.
Joanne, residents came together last night for a meeting. I want to know the feeling in the room, but also in all the digging around I've done, and I've spoken to the opposition and tried to get some answers from the government, but there seems to be very little attempt to get people off drugs. This is just a place for them to use, not a place for them to change their lives. What does your community want to do? What's the message to the state government?
Well, our message is plain and simple. We support the principle behind the safe injecting room. We just don't support it being next to our children. What we're finding very difficult is to get statistics on how many people this room has actually been able to refer to other services and get them off drugs. We hear all the time about how many lives they have saved, and that's a great thing, and these are vulnerable people in our community and they do need help and they do need saving. But where's the stats on what's happening once they leave the room? Where's the stats on, you know, we want to talk about statistics of how the crime rate has increased in this area since the room has been here. The feeling is that we just need to keep pushing, and we want the government to listen to us. They're not. They're maintaining this stance that the Richmond West school community is behind the safe injecting rooms location. We are not. We support the principle. We don't support it being next to our children's primary school.
We'd also like to push the government in to put more rooms in. Sorry, Peta, we need to put more rooms in. You can't just leave one suburb or one area in the whole of Melbourne to cater for the needs of these people. And I also think we need more money put into mental health to prevent people ending up here in these places. Look after them before.
Getting them off.
Yeah.
There's no programs, Claire, there's no real programs that I can see that are active about getting the people off. I've got to leave it there. I'll stay across this issue. Claire, in particular, I know we've got a friend in contact that we've got this information from you. Please feel welcome to stay with us on the show anytime on this issue. Joanne Murphy, thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty horrific stuff, isn't it, there if you live in Richmond? And if you live in Melbourne, drive down Victoria Street, Richmond. Make your own judgments. Have a look. You'll see that wonderful Vietnamese restaurant strip is decimated.